might as well begin with some happenings around the world, right?
Yeah, sure.
If you guys listen, we like to do our quick hits at the beginning of the episode where we just run through 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever we feel like, topics or conversational pieces or whatever we feel like. And we like to talk about things around the world, right? Because we like to think that we're a worldly podcast. So one of the things that has been happening, or that did happen in the past couple of weeks, was the election in Uganda, presidential election. Yeah. We've actually spoken about Uganda a couple of times in the past, just the era of oppression that was there. Specifically, we talked about Bobi Wine, who's like he's a musician, but he's very popular as an activist as well, and he was always getting in trouble with the government, right? He was always getting in trouble. Basically, they tried to muffle him, is the best way to put it. So he actually ran for president against the incumbent president who's been there for like 35 years, which, as you can imagine, is not ideal under any circumstances. Like, you don't come up with the blueprint for a country and it's like, okay, so we're going to have this guy who's been president for 35 years and yes, things will be good. And that's usually a sign of...
Pretty anti-democratic.
Yeah, it's kind of a sign of things not being all good because the kind of power you can amass in that amount of time is unchecked, basically. So the election went off. Bobi Wine did not win the election, as you can imagine. Incumbent president won. And there's been a lot of hoopla surrounding that with just the legitimacy of the results, right, of the election. Was it rigged and this and that? So there's not much to talk about at the moment because the election is the election. Bobi Wine was under house arrest for a moment. Like, he was just confined to his house and, he was dealing with that level of authority. But ultimately, it seems like it's just going to be another election that we look at with funny eyes, like, are you sure? But nothing is going to come of it except for maybe the next election will be better or different. So
hopefully, I wish I could add more, but there's really not much to add to it. It's basically an expected outcome, unfortunately, and we're just going to have to, like you said, hope for better in future elections. Yeah,
it's sad. It's sad because you don't really want to see these types of regimes like continue forever and ever, and sometimes, unfortunately, it feels like death is the only thing that's going to make a change. But sometimes death is not even the best agent of change, right? Because if one person dies and the system is in place, like, the system persists. So our prayers and thoughts with everyone in Uganda, everywhere around the world, really dealing with whatever form of oppression, whatever form of governance you're trying to deal with. It's crazy because as I was saying the story of what happened, I'm like, oh, we just did that too with the whole, it's the election, stop the count, and I was like, people literally did not believe this could happen in America, and it almost happened. It didn't quite happen, but
imagine 35 years of Trump.
Yeah, no, let's not.
He would love that.
Yeah, let's. The good thing is I don't know that he would live another 35. I don't know how he is, but I feel like he's old. So I don't mean to put death on him, but like,
you're right.
I feel like he's old at like 35 years.
In
Probably
70s,
not.
So right.
Probably not feasible. But no, it's crazy. It's crazy because if he was to win this election, like, the next election would be just crazy, right? Like, because you can imagine that's when it's going to be like, why does the president only get 2 terms? Like, executive order. Like, wait, you can't do executive order to change this. Like, I'm sure he would try.